So far away, Nisha, what's your favourite Jim Carrey quote?
I
knew that was coming and still laughed.
Want to hear the most annoying sound in the world?
At the apex of his career, Jim Carrey was regarded as one of Hollywood's most bankable actor, a fact that allowed him to command millions of dollars for appearing in a project. Weirdly, the first time Carrey was ever able to command 7 figures for appearing in a movie was the result of him doing absolutely nothing for several weeks straight while negotiating his appearance fee for the film Dumb and Dumber.
Okay, so the character he played in Dumb and Dumber is probably one of the most famous early roles that he did.
Yes, but it's also one of his first roles because you see, despite Jim Carrey being one of the most famous actors of all time today, when production for Dumb and Dumber began, Jim Carrey was a relative unknown by Hollywood standards, to the point where when he was put forward as a potential candidate to play Lloyd Christmas in Dumb and Dumber, the person who put him forward had to explain who he was to studio executives. And for the curious, the way they sold Jim Carrey was, he's the white guy on In Living Colour. A sentence that makes more sense when you look at a cast photo for the show In Living Colour. Because if you have got a picture of that in front of you now, Nisha?
Yep, I do.
Yeah, can you spot Jim Carrey?
Yep, at the end.
Yep.
The only white guy.
The only white guy on the show. Like, there was a lot of talent on that show. It's just one of those strange things, isn't it? Where it's a show that was designed to primarily showcase black talent, and one of the most famous actors on it is just like the whitest dude imaginable, who's also Canadian, I think. So I'm pretty sure Jim Carrey's Canadian, so it wasn't even American talent. It's weird how he can melt his face. It's so strange how he does that. We talk about it every time I mention Jim Carrey, but I'm going to mention it again. He can make his face look like Clint Eastwood. It's so weird. I don't know how he does it, and it freaks me out every time. Stop it, Jim Carrey. No, you can't have that power. Just chase Sonic and get those Chaos Emeralds and stop being Clint Eastwood.
So if we bring it back to Dumb and Dumber, because you said Jim Carrey wasn't known very well, so how much was he initially offered?
He was initially offered an appearance fee of $350,000, which is, that's a fair rate for an unknown actor in Hollywood. But Jim Carrey's agent was like, nah, we're not accepting that. We want $400,000. Get him that extra little bit of cream on top. And the studio were like fuck with giving this guy $400,000, turned the offer down, then stonewalled his agent. A tactic that might have worked if not for the fact that while these negotiations were taking place, Ace Ventura hit cinemas.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. A film for which Jim Carrey was paid a similar amount of money, but went on to gross more than Dumb and Dumber's entire budget in its opening weekend and made Jim Carrey a household name overnight.
Jesus.
Because that first Ace Ventura film is just fucking incredible. I love it so much.
I think it's the second one I always remember where he's inside the hippo or the rhino or something.
I think that's the first one. It's the first one where he's in the hippo. I think so. Is the first one where he's inside the hippo? Because that's the one I remember most fondly. Whoever edits this one, do a fact check on this. Is the second Ace Ventura movie the one where he walks into the hunting trophy room and just has the complete freak out and calls it a wonderful room of death? Because that's my favourite Ace Ventura movie.
Of course not. This is a lovely room of death.
Like the one where he sees the woman with a fox around her neck and just punches out her husband and wears him like a fucking scarf.
Oh my god, yeah.
I think it must be the second one because that's the one with Shikaka, isn't it? Where he gets the white bat.
Oh, I think so.
And you have what might be the greatest physical stunt of all time. And it's where Jim Carrey is holding an animatronic flapping bat and runs into a low-hanging vine as a perfect front flip, lands on his back and then keeps running without letting go of the bat. Oh god, he's such a good fucking actor. Anyway.
Okay, so what happened when Ace Ventura came out and they realised, holy shit, Jim Carrey is now famous?
Well, when the studio realised that Carrey was a hot commodity, they quickly agreed to the $400,000 paycheck, to which Carrey's agent responded by asking for $500,000 and stonewalling the studio, which must have felt fucking amazing. And the studio didn't like this. They didn't like being taken for a ride and told them, nah, we're not paying $500,000 to get Carrey on this project. Something Carrey's agent responded to by doing absolutely nothing. And again, playing hardball may have worked for the studio if not for the fact that Ace Ventura was literally the #1 movie in America at the time they were making these negotiations. Because it's really difficult to argue that Carrey is not a box office draw and therefore does not deserve the increased paycheck, while the movie he stars in, which is a vehicle for him and has him in all the promotional material and features some of like his best and most memorable and quoted lines, he's just like tearing it up at the box office. It's great. I think I've remembered now as well, because I think the first Ace Ventura movie is the one where I rewatched it recently and I'm like, holy shit, the guy from Breaking Bad's his landlord.
God, is he?
Joe, the evil guy from Breaking Bad, the guy in the wheelchair? That's his landlord, and he doesn't look like he's aged in like 30 years.
How do people do that? How do people not age?
Well, that's the thing. It's like Hank from Breaking Bad. He's the SWAT officer in Terminator 2, who gets blown up by Miles Dyson, and he looks exactly the fucking same. He's not aged in like 30 years. It's great. Anyway, Jim Carrey.
Okay, so what happened after this?
Well, it didn't take long for the studio to cave and agree to pay Carrey $500,000, which his agent turned down again and instead asked for $700,000, which the studio, who really should have started to see a pattern at this point, turned down. And Carrey's agent once again just sat back, watching the box office numbers for Ace Ventura continue to rise, got a phone call from the studio, agreeing to the increased fee, turned it down, asked for more money. This continued for several weeks until Carrey's agent managed to secure him $7 million for appearing in the movie, roughly 50% of the budget of the entire project.
Fucking hell.
So,
I bet they felt stupid.
And there's a great interview with the director of that film where he talks about how the studio is just an idiot because they could have got Carrey for 1/20th of what they eventually ended up paying him. And for people wondering about the title of this video, Vigintupled is when something is times by 20. A word I literally had to look up. And when you physically have to look up the word to describe how much more money the person made, you know that that agent did a good fucking job. But the story gets just a little bit better.
Sorry, so how does this story get even better?
Well, while Jim Carrey's agent was securing him 20 times his initial asking fee, Jeff Daniels' agent was doing whatever the exact opposite of that is, because Jeff Daniels was famously or infamously paid just $50,000 for appearing in Dumb and Dumber. And for anyone curious about how that works out to what Carrey was paid, I did some rough calculations and Jeff Daniels earned about 140 times less than Carrey did. Well, it was an amalgamation of things, but it was largely that nobody wanted Jeff Daniels to be in the movie, including his agent and the studio, because the story goes that the director of the film wanted Jeff Daniels for the role, but the studio didn't think he would be a good comedic actor. So what they told the director to do is intentionally offer him an amount of money that would be considered insulting, so he'll turn it down. And at the same time, Daniel's agent told him, do not take this role, it will ruin your career. And to everyone's surprise, Jeff Daniels took the offer without even trying to negotiate and just agreed to do it. And ended up like, you know what, it's decent payday, $50,000, but $50,000 is not $7 million. I
was going to say, compared to Jim Carrey's amount, it's like nothing.
Yeah, and for anyone curious, there was no animosity between the two about this. Like, they both understood that's the way things work in Hollywood sometimes. Not to mention that they both got, I think, like $10, $15 million a couple years later for appearing in the sequel. So it all worked out in the end. But it's just quite funny to me that while Jim Carrey was sat on his ass as his agent, secured him 20 times his initial asking price, Jeff Daniels' agent is like, this move will ruin your career, while the studio's like, fuck him, offer him no money, and he took it. He's like, okay, great. So far away, Nisha, we've already talked before about our favourite Jim Carrey movies. If anyone's interested in that discussion, you can find a link to the video where we did that below. So let's just move away from that and just talk about comedy movies in general. Do you have a favourite comedy movie or one that you quote quite a bit?
Well, there's like a mixture between two. One of them is Hot Fuzz.
Hot Fuzz, yeah.
And then another one is 22 Jump Street. So.
Oh God, we've already talked about both of those things a lot as well. They're so good. Oh, it's almost like...
They're so good.
It's almost like we're people who have interests and specific likes. But go on then, Nisha. Talk more about Hot Fuzz and 22 Jump Street. Let's do it.
Okay, Hot Fuzz. Well, yeah, that's probably one I quote a lot. Most recently, I'll keep saying, new.
Can I remain here as a PC?
No.
Do I have any choice in this?
No.
Hot Fuzz isn't a movie I particularly quote a lot, but it is one that I rewatch every couple of months because I adore the level of detail. As evidenced by the fact one of the first viral videos on this channel is me doing exactly that, and it's just, God, it's such a good movie.
It's so good. Like, I'm always saying, a great big bushy beard, like, just for no reason.
And as well, it's just such a well-made movie. There's no fat to be trimmed on that. It's just, every single scene is pitch perfect, and it's fucking incredible. And as we've mentioned before, Edgar Wright is like John Wick when it comes to using Chekhov's gun, and every single scene in that movie will get referenced at a later point in the film. It's fucking great. I love it. But then you mentioned 22 Jump Street, which is a movie I do quote a lot because I fucking love 22 Jump Street.
The famous one is, my name's Jeff.
See, for me, it's just fuck you doves. I use that line at least once a day when pigeons are about. It's like, fuck you doves, every time.
Oh, Smith like the captain's daughter.
So good. He's just Channing Tatum. Didn't he get his style shit like Magic Mike and rom-coms and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think the first thing I saw him in was She's the Man.
And then it turns out he's just this incredible comedic actor with amazing like screen presence and timing. And I guess if we're talking about unexpectedly great comedic actors, we have to mention Ice Cube, who steals every scene he's in and every line he delivers is solid fucking gold. It reminds me a little bit of like Eminem, who is unexpectedly hilarious, because you think he's really serious with like the way he presents himself, but he's really good at comedy because he's so stone-faced.
Yeah, that's the best though, when they just deliver lines so bluntly.
One of my favourite Eminem quotes is just a tweet he sent out once of, people don't think I wrote my own tweets, but I wrote this one. It's just... Okay, Eminem, sure. But you just don't expect him to be as funny as he is, because it's like his persona is so like aggressive and serious. Like that great series of images that I just fondly recall every now and again, and it's the one of Ice Cube where he's holding an AK-47 for promotion of an NWA album, and then they have like that still from Are We There Yet, where it's him fishing wearing like a life jacket, and he's just so happy to be fishing. It's like, I'm glad Ice Cube's having a good day. So have you ever seen like interviews with Ice Cube where he talks about stuff like this?
No, I don't think so.
I think it's a Wired interview, like the autocomplete interviews they do.
Yeah.
There's one of those with Ice Cube, and it is fucking hilarious because they ask him where the word Ice Cube comes from. It's like, well, yeah, my brother chucked me in a freezer once and called me Ice Cube. So I'm like, no, fuck it, that's my name now. And he looks at the camera and goes, and now I'm a millionaire, eat shit, Daryl, or something like that. It's like, oh, Ice Cube, tell him.
Oh my God, that's amazing. That's how you own it.
I fucking love Ice Cube, he's so funny. Like, how is he so funny and also such a great rapper? Can we please just have those two images? Like the NWA album cover with the AK-47 and the one of him on the boat. But whoever edits this, can you please Photoshop angry Ice Cube with the AK-47 onto the boat and happy Ice Cube with the fishing rod onto the NWA album cover, and then put like the NWA logo of it, and then put Are We There Yet over this one.
Oh my God.
Just for my own amusement, because I want to see if it still works.